Hello and welcome to another free code session. My name is Jason Bach, and I realized, well, I've known this, I shouldn't say I realized this, but I have no more episodes in the can, so to speak. Nothing is scheduled, and so I kind of went, I need to get some stuff done. I need to get some stuff uploaded to make sure that I still have stuff there, but I don't want to do episodes just for the sake of actually having stuff there, especially with everything that's going on with COVID-19. It's literally, God, what day is it? I actually have to look. Where's my mouse? Where's my pointer? It's April 6th. So this is literally recorded right before I upload it. Excuse me. Got up early to get a couple in before the real work day starts. So, yeah, I don't want to force this. I don't want to actually force just putting up content just for the sake of doing it. But I thought, well, I'll see what I can do today. If it's just one, then I'll have to, like I've said, I've got tons of ideas. I just haven't thought about putting like what's coming up next. But in any event, without further rambling, let's get into what I want to cover right now. So I mentioned that I'm working on this compiler called Whenever, or Dub Sharp, because it's supposed to be, if I'm going to type here, if I can find the character Dub Sharp, there you go. Okay. And I'm slowly but surely making progress. Let me show you what I have now. So, no. Wrong keys. So if I run this, and I get this to come up, so I say 1, 2, 3, and I don't even know if this is necessarily legal whenever, but I put it in there. Oh yeah, because now I have the command run. And that's going to get into the problem that I have right now. I don't have the coloring that Immo has with his Minsk stuff. Actually, that leads to an interesting point. But this is what I got right now. And as you can see, I can get my compilation unit, line statement, expression statement. And I also have the bound tree as well. So I've got that in there. I'm almost close to being able to try to evaluate something. To me, an evaluation is not producing a literal big integer value. It's being able to use my engine to actually run the lines that come from the bound tree. But that's a different story. The one thing that you'll... Oh, never mind. Okay. The one thing you're going to notice here, though, is if I do like 2, 3, and if I say 2, 1, minus 4, and then I say run, I don't get... Well, no, that's not right. 1, 2, 3. It's a little weird because it gets a little screwed up, as you can tell. To number token 5. Where does it even come with 5? That, holy crap, that doesn't make any sense at all. I have no idea where it's coming up with 5. Oh, I know why. Yeah, let me rerun this. I don't think I quite have this working the way I want it to be. 2, 1, minus 4, run. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so it was a little bizarre. So as you see here, I only have one line here, and I need to have multiple line statements. So that's something I need to figure out. And I figured out that it's actually in here. And I'll explain what that is in a moment, but I want to go back to the point I just made about something that I realized when I was building this. So let's do the close all but this. Okay, and then I want to come to syntax node. Yeah. So here, this is why I don't have coloring in my tree. If you look at Immo's Minsk tree, He has all sorts of colors to differentiate stuff in the tree, and that actually helps in terms of when you're trying to view it. But I don't have that, in part because what he did is he takes a text writer into his print method, but then he'll have a boolean in here to say something like is console, which he'll look at the writer and say, is it actually the same object as console.out? If it is, then within here he uses that flag to tell him, okay, now at this point color this text this way, at this point color the text this way. I didn't like that. That felt wrong to me, because you're passing in something, a specific type, and then going, oh, now I'm going to handle it in a completely different way than it just being a text writer. So it still feels wrong to me. There's also another thing that he does where, the get children method. He actually does some reflection stuff in his code, and then in such a way that, for example, like a binary expression syntax, mine just so happened to be ordered this way, but I have to admit, I like my stuff ordered and coded in a certain way, so that things are grouped and sorted in a certain way. It's just who I am. But he puts this stuff in his code such that reflection will find it in a certain order, and then he can have a generic, not like generics in C#, but a generic method that will always find the children in the right order. And I didn't like that, because that relies upon the literal ordering of elements, of members in your class, in your code, to produce the enumeration. And I just couldn't go there. That was something I decided not to do. Same thing here. I just felt like it was wrong to look at the type of writer coming in and then make decisions based upon that. But then another thought that I had, I tweeted this yesterday about contravariance, and I'm not even sure if this is quite right, but covariance and contravariance are these concepts that have been in .NET and the CLR for a long time, and only in C#4 did they get exposed as an in and an out. Okay. Now, sorry, I need my coffee. It's early in the morning. Covariance means out or return parameters, return values have to be covariant. Okay. Contravariance means that the parameters are in. They have to be less specific. And that always kind of threw me. I'm like, why? And I think the book, The Foundations of Object-Oriented Programming, Foundations of Object-Oriented Languages, FOOL, talks about this too. And it's one of those concepts that, like I get and then I don't and I get, and I'm not sure why. It just feels weird to me that it has to be less specific coming in if you mark it as being contravariant. And I thought about it, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. If I had a syntax node here, yeah, and then I have a class that derives from syntax node, and this method here was virtual, excuse me, this only works in C#2 the way they do it, that it can only work with interfaces, so that the types have to be more or less, and we're talking about generic types here too, so the point is, geez, excuse me, if the type that you want coming in a subclass you make less specific, okay, then I could pass around a type of the base type, of the actual class or the interface type. Substitute it, like if I had a cat, type, an iCat that derived from my animal, and I substituted a cat for an animal, then I have to make sure that the argument coming in has to be of that type or less specific. Because if it's more specific, I can't substitute it there. I can't put it there. It wouldn't make any sense. Because how could I handle a type that's more specific? And so I'm probably babbling here, and people that really know like type theory and everything are screaming at me going, you're an idiot. But something about that clicked in my head, and I went, okay, that does make sense because of what you're expecting as the parameter type. And if the enclosing type is that's being defined as a variable somewhere, you substitute that with a more specific type, then its argument has to be a less specific. It's one of those things that I know I'm probably not explaining very well, but in fact, I know I'm not, but it just hit me, and I was like, oh, that example, I think, helped me clarify why, one, I didn't like what he did, and two, that gave me some insight into contravariance, I think. I'm not sure. I was confident yesterday, so in any event, the one thing I wanted to cover here is, as I've just mentioned, I have a problem where I only parse the one line. Okay, but as I dug into this yesterday, is I actually am getting in my source text, I do have 2 lines. Okay, and I am lexing all the tokens. So I was like, well, what's going on here? And then I realized, I think I put it over here. So I can show my notes here. Yeah. So as soon as I hit a semicolon, I need another line. And like let me show you, just back it up a bit here. If I do 2, 1, minus 4. Okay, it doesn't matter. But as soon as I hit that, I have to now parse another line. So what I need to do here is parse compilation unit says parse line statement. Okay. Well, that parse line statement gets parse line statements. But what I need to do is reword some of these things. Like this actually needs to be parse line expression statements. Then this needs to be, that's a parse line statement. And then this, and then I need another method in here that actually is parsing all the line statements. Okay. And so the problem is what's happening is, because whenever it's kind of a C language, it doesn't support pointers or anything like that, but it has a C-like syntax, so that it's expecting a semicolon at the end. When I wrote this, I was literally just doing one line, even though I knew I had to have more lines in there. And I'm getting to the point where I need to actually support multiple lines. And so what I need to do is figure out, well, wait a minute, what happens, for one thing, I need to handle the right case, which is just, you did the right thing, okay? And when you hit a semicolon, then that means you've parsed a line, produce that back, and then keep going, like do this while loop outside, and so to speak. It needs to be done in here and then also outside to get all the lines. But I need to also catch the case what happens if you do this? Because then what my parser is going to see is that. Okay? And that's just a whole bunch of mess. Though I know that it's actually this. So that was the thing I was struggling with yesterday, is do I need to actually capture a trivia token of not just, because right now it's just generalized to be white space. Tabs, white space, line feed, character return, those are all white space. Okay. But fortunately, the source text class does say, yes, you're on another line and your position. So what I need to also do here is basically say, if I hit end of file token, or the line that I started on when I came into this, is has now switched. Like I'm now on the second line. Then I'm in trouble because I missed a semicolon. So I think that's the only. So there's a couple things I need to do here. Okay, so let me clean this up a little bit. So this name here, we're going to change to that. Okay, and then the parse line statement gets that, and then we're going to need a compilation unit syntax. That it's a statement, but what I really need is a line statements syntax, which takes a list of line statements. Right? I think that's what I need. Because the line statement is just, the line statement is literally just, let me get that right again, is that. That's a line statement. That's a line statement. If I even do like 3, 4, that whole thing is a line statement. Okay. So, I think what I need to say is program line statements syntax, parse, and then grab the name that I just discovered here. Okay. And I will eventually get to that. Hopefully I did the right thing. Statements. Yes. Okay. And it's like a line statement. Yeah, because it takes a list of expression statements. And maybe I want to make that a mutable list, but we'll worry about that later. So it's sort of like this. Sort of. Yeah. Okay. And then grab that. And we want to make these line statement syntax. And we'll call that lines. And we'll call this lines. Shut up, stomach. And then we're going to say line and lines. And yeah, we want to say here this, and then we don't have a number, and we don't have a number up here. Okay, because it just is going to go through all the lines. All right, I think that clears that up. Well, I got to get rid of the number. Okay. Then I don't need to do this. I wish there was also a refactoring that, I noticed the way Immo does his code is he will put in a bunch of parameters to his constructor and then he can generate all the read-only properties, which is fine, but then it assigns them like this. What I wish it had a refactoring is, oh, if you've got multiple, to assign the property in that kind of tuple way that you saw before. That doesn't exist yet. That's okay. That's all right. Okay, so now we're doing that. Okay. The first thing I need to do, though, is really get into here and fix this. Okay. So what I want to find is var line position, this dot position. Okay. And this dot text, I think, is a source text. Yeah. So we want to find the line index of the position. That's what we really want. Yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad I already had this. Yes, yes, yes. That should help. Okay. So what I really want is the line index, because I want to make sure I stay on the same line index. Okay, so if I say get line index, this dot position. Okay. While this dot position is less than this dot token's length. I think what I really wanted to say is while this dot text get line index of this dot position is equal to line index. Because once that changes, then I can come out, I believe. I believe that's what I want to do. Okay. And then I can look for the comma, because that just means you want to move over one, because you're going to grab another thing. If I found the semicolon, then I can move to position. Else, if I do find an end of file token, or see this, yeah. Do I want this to be a do while or a while? Because do I want to at least get the first one? Yeah, next is a syntax token, and next doesn't have, well, it has a position. Ah, that's what I can do. Okay. So I could think I can keep this, and I can say if it's an end of file token or of the next position does not equal the line index, okay, then I do this check, because then it's going to say, by the way, did you hit a semicolon? Because if you didn't, technically it's wrong. Okay, and then we break. I'm not sure here if I think I want to push the position. I believe that's what I want to do. Because if this current equals start token, then start token. Because these all push. These, yeah. So I think we want to push the position right before we break. We'll have to play with that and see what actually happens. And then the rest of this is okay. So this gets me all of the line expression statements. Okay. Now this one is a little bit more generalized. This one I want to just basically say while I do want to get like var lines is equal to new list of line expression. Oh yeah, line statement syntax. Okay. And then I'm going to do return new statement syntax of lines. Okay. And then I'm going to parse line statements in here. This is now going to be statements. A compilation unit syntax takes a line statements syntax, which is all the lines. That's now this. That's now this. And then for each var line in this lines, yield return line. Oh, okay. That is the root thing. We could say here, I may not like that name, but that's okay. Okay. So now that takes that, and that might break something else, but that's okay. What I want to do now here, though, is in line statements, is basically to say, this is where I now need to do the uber while here, I think. While the position is less than the token's length, we say lines dot add this dot parse line statement. Okay? And that should just be it, because this is going to, Oops. Yeah, sometimes I press a key if I just have my hands next to it. I'll just press it a little bit and do that. Yeah, I don't want to do that. And then I have random keystrokes in my code, and that's not good. Okay, so parse line statement will then parse primary expression, parse line expression statements, and then it returns it. And so this is what's handling either getting to the end of file or that you skip to the next line. Okay, and so at some point this is going to be equal to the token's length, and then you just stop. So I think this is actually what I want. Let's build this. I've noticed that building, like if you just don't have your code open, it doesn't actually find the error until you build it. I don't know what happened there. I don't know what changed. Cannot convert type. Yeah, that's probably not surprising. Syntax tree, parse, root, line statements. Yes. Okay, so we now return a line statements. Oh, this is going to screw something horrible up, I think, somewhere in my tests. Because what I do here is I parse the expression, and the whole point of doing this is to get, yeah, it's not going to say that's redundant. But then this is going to break, because what this is going to do is it's actually going to return a list of those things. And so there's going to be one extra node there. I'm going to have to fix that, but that's okay. I will get to that in a moment. I want to just see if this actually worked. Okay, built. So let's just do the 1, 2, 3, and then let's say run. Oh, this is in the binder. Okay, well that's okay, because I kind of figured that, well, I shouldn't say I figured, because I really didn't. Bind statement in the binder. Okay, so if I say binder, bind statement. Yeah, it doesn't know how to bind a line statement. Doesn't know what that is. Oh. Yeah, it would help if I actually had the right thing in there too. Oh, no. Back. Because what I also think I missed is I don't have a kind correctly. So if I go to line statements, I'm still saying that's a line statements. There we go. Generate the enum type. And where'd you put that? Because that's important, apparently. Okay, so that does that. Get that there. But now we need to have something here that says line statements. Okay, because now we need to bind line statements from line statement syntax. And then, yeah, this is kind of weird because it's bound lines. Well, they're not lines. They're actually expressions. They're statements within. My naming is not the best there. I will thoroughly admit that. Okay, so now we need to say here that we have a bound statement, line statements, line statements syntax, and then we need to say here. Get that out of the way. Copy that. And then this is a bound line statements, which does not take a number. This takes a list of bound line statements. We'll call this line. Nope. Line statements. We no longer have a number. Line statements. We do that. We don't have that anymore. And then we don't have that. And we have that. We have that. And we have that. Okay. Back here. Do that. That. And so now we say var line statements is equal to a new list of bound line statements. Okay, and then for each var line in syntax dot lines line statements dot add this dot bind statement of the line. Now I could say line statement here because that's technically, what's it barking at? Oh yes, bound line statement. I know that's what's coming out of this. Not the prettiest code in the world. I don't quite like that, but that's okay because I know it's a bound line. Yeah. Okay. So then we can just say return bound line statements of line statements. Right? And now we succeed. Say 1, 2, 3, run, and we still have the exception. Okay. Copy. What did we do wrong? Unexpected operator line statements. That evaluates statement. Oh, at the evaluator. Okay, so I'm keep going up the evaluator. So now, yeah, unexpected operator. So now we say here. Okay, I'm going to take a break because I'm at 30 minutes, and then I will continue on with this. I'm almost done fixing it, and then I will move on to some other stuff. So thank you all for watching. Leave comments and questions below. See you in the next episode.